So the project I'm about to explain is called Immunotech. And actually, before becoming a company, it was a scientific project. So that's a special part I always like to say. And the slogan is the science of living better. So keep that in mind for later, because I'll touch upon it. And as I was saying, it's a very special company because it was a science project. And after almost 20 years, a formula was discovered that they thought was so important for human health, and in fact for all living beings, that they decided to found Immunotech and turn the formula into its first product. And it still is our flagship product after all these years, and you'll understand why in just a minute. So here we can see the two, we can see the two scientists that discovered this formula. On the left is Patricia Conchavin. She's the world's first female immunologist, and in fact, she wrote the prologue for the first book on a topic of immunology, and she still is a reference after all this time. She's almost 97 years old, and she's in fact the greatest living testimony of what Immunocal does. And on the right, we have Dr. Gustavo Bonos. He was a surgeon, and he started to notice that his patients with similar profiles after similar interventions didn't recover the same. Some of them took a lot more time to fully recover, or they experienced complications, and others were back on their feet quite quickly. And the reason for this, as he came to discover, were their previous nutritional and dietary patterns. So to sum up, the way they ate before directly impacted their immune system in a very important way. So with that in mind, the pair of them teamed up, and what they found was, in a nutshell, a precursor for glutathione. So I don't know if you've ever heard of glutathione. I certainly had no clue when I first saw this same presentation, which I found very strange, to say the least, because it's so important for our health. And I thought that with a university degree, at least came some basic information on how our bodies work, but it appears not. The glutathione is present in all of our cells, in fact, in those of every living being, and it is, after water, the most abundant molecule in our body. It is responsible for around 1,500 functions, and it is in fact so important that if we were to remove all of it right now, we would die within 2 hours. So as we can see here, our glutathione levels start at being pretty high, ideally at their maximum, although some babies nowadays already have lower levels. And with age, these levels start declining until they reach 0, and then we die. So in fact, glutathione is also called the molecule of life for this reason. The graphic would be really an idealized version of reality, because nowadays we have many factors that deplete our glutathione levels beyond what we had before, beyond what our body is prepared for, and some of which we can control, such as taking care of our body with proper sleep, food, exercise, emotional care. So far, so good. But there are also a plethora of other factors that are completely beyond our control, such as the high levels of radiations we are exposed to every day, Wi-Fi, screens, also pollution, contamination we have in the air we breathe, the water we drink and bathe with, and even our food. It doesn't have the same nutritional density than only maybe 100 years before. So I will give the same example. Imagine my grandfather eating a broccoli. For us to have the same nutritional benefits, we would have to take 4 or 5, and so on. So really, it's quite important to aid our bodies in thriving in this hostile environment that our planet has become. Okay, in this slide, we come to understand how our body creates the glutathione necessary for its survival. So first, it's very important to note that it has to be synthesized from within the cell. It is of no use on the outside, because it cannot penetrate the cellular membrane since it's too large. So for the cells to produce glutathione, they need to take these 3 ingredients you see here on the left. They are glycine, glutamic acid, and cysteine. And of the 2 first ones, we really don't have any need to supplement them. They are readily available in our food. But cysteine is called the limiting factor, since it has 2 peculiarities. First, it's very sensitive to heat. and second to high pH values. So let's imagine we eat that broccoli I was talking about before. All of its available cysteine will be oxidized and decomposed while traveling through my digestive tract, because in there we'll be exposed to heat and acid. And even if I were to eat it raw, I wouldn't be able to have more than maybe 5% arrive to my cell intact. Sorry, my youngest is screaming. So, which means that it's very little left to build glutathione with, right? So this was the scientific discovery that was made. They found a way to protect the cysteine within a larger protein string, to have it arrive almost intact in approximately 95% to our cells. So that's a huge difference. And now let's see what does our body do and our cells do with all that glutathione. So as I said before, we can use it for over 1,500 bodily functions. It's that important for our health. But I'm only going to talk very briefly about 4 of the most widely known functions, because I think they gave a good overview of what it does. But if you're interested in delving deeper into this subject, you can read the almost 190,000 studies that have been done on glutathione. So the first function is to regulate our immune system. So really, nowadays we see a lot of people with allergies or food intolerances and even, autoimmune diseases. And they all have something in common, which is low glutathione levels. So when we raise the glutathione levels, our body is again able to distinguish between what is coming from the outside and what is ours, right? So it's very important to say that it regulates our immune system and not that it decreases or activates it. Because some people, they take immunosuppressing medication and they say, maybe I don't have to take this because my immune system will be very high. That's not the case. It's just regulating it to its optimum level. The second function is detoxification. So thanks to glutathione, our body is able to cleanse itself from the inside out. And it cleanses what comes from the outside, all the toxicity, but also for just the, just because we are living and our cells are being used, it also creates residues or toxicity that has to be cleaned. So both of those are what glutathione does. And also another thing that's very interesting is that it's able to eliminate heavy metals, which is very difficult to do. And glutathione actually is able to capture those heavy metals and take it outside of the body. So the third one has to do with protecting the mitochondria in our cells from overheating. So the mitochondria are like our batteries in the cells, and while they are doing their function, they get very heated, and glutathione protects it so that our cells can function normally for longer. So really, glutathione ensures that we have higher and more sustained energy levels throughout the day. And we feel like when we were kids. We have the same energy levels. It doesn't matter if it's, 10 in the morning or 5 p.m. We are just awake, we are just present and vital. And it's a very different feeling from when you take, 4 coffees, right? So the last function is the antioxidant function. So glutathione, this is the function it's best known for. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. So of all the antioxidants that are in the world, I think there are 2,000, more or less. This is the only one our body creates, so it's ours. And we need glutathione within the cell to make all the other antioxidants work. Without it, they don't work properly. That is very important. That's why it's called a master antioxidant. It's like the key that opens up the door for all the others. I think that's it. So up until now, I've been talking about the blue box, which is the regular Immunocal. It's just one ingredient. It's an undenatured whey protein isolate. So from whey, they take like a protein string, a fraction of it, and that will be Immunocal. It's very, very similar to breast milk, human milk, almost identical. And it's very rich in cysteine, obviously, but it's also a complete food. So it has all the essential amino acids that we need. But the most interesting thing is that it's a precursor of glutathione, and it's suitable for all living beings. So you can give this to your cat, your dog, your plants. Every living being can benefit from it because every living being is on this planet and suffers the same toxicity that we were talking about before. And also babies can take it, pregnant women, or during breastfeeding. So that's the blue box. And then afterwards, I think 10 years later, there came another formula, which is the same base, but they added some extras to improve some function. So it has the same benefits as glutathione, but also it helps regulate our pH levels and also inflammation in our body. So that's really interesting, especially for people that are athletes. Sorry. That are athletes, or maybe if you've had a low immune system, you've had some physical health issues, it's very interesting to take platinum. So that's what it does. And then we have the sport version, which came out later. I think it's been around for 2 years now. And even though it says sport, it's not only for people that are doing sport, not only for athletes, because it has a precursor for nitric oxide, and this helps your body in improving blood flow, and that helps in cleaning yourself, so all nutrients become available sooner and everything gets like accelerated, right? It also enhances performance and it reduces muscle soreness. So it also has something that it doesn't stay here, but I think it's interesting. It helps your body in creating melatonin, so your sleep improves as well. Yeah. Well, this is like an example, because there are many more of athletes taking Immunocal. It's really interesting. We have some Olympic athletes, and I always like to say that they don't decide for themselves what they are going to take, because all of their supplementation has to be approved by a panel of doctors and nutritionists, etc. And they all have to say yes to the supplement. So like Chanel Price doesn't say, okay, now I'm going to take whatever. No, they all have to decide and agree on the supplement. So having that many people taking it, that many Olympic athletes, really gives credibility. And then also we are the official sponsors of 2 football clubs, soccer clubs, Club America, which is like the first football club in Mexico, and also Inter Miami, which is where Messi is playing right now. And what else? And also we have an alliance with Real Madrid. We have a foundation with them, and together, each with their own specialty, we are improving health in children that are immune deprived. So this is also very interesting. Okay, this is like the summary of everything that's backing up Immunocal on a scientific level. So this slide really shows how much research and scientific backup there is. There are many independent institutions studying Immunocal. For instance, McGill University, but also Pasteur, Institute Pasteur, Harvard. And now, since I think a few months, we also have a study going on in Vall d'Hebron in Barcelona, which is a really renowned hospital. We have 28 studies done on humans, so not on rats, not in vitro, but on humans, double-blind studies. We are supported by 2 globally recognized scientists. On the one hand, we see Dr. Jimmy Gottman. He's the head of science department of Immunotech. And before that, he has dedicated his whole life to studying glutathione. He has wrote, I don't know, like 12 books, a lot of books on glutathione. I have one right here. I have the English version. I don't know if you can see it. It's all blurry. But he's a really renowned author and scientist regarding glutathione. And he decided to be a part of Immunotech because he saw that this is the best precursor available, because it's the only one in existence that really uses the natural way of elevating our glutathione levels, which is through our food. Another scientist backing Immunocal is Dr. Luc Montagnier. He's the scientist that discovered 8 In 2008, he was a Nobel Prize winner, and he wrote a book which is called Oxidative Stress in Cancer, AIDS, and Neurodegenerative Diseases. And in this book, he dedicates a whole chapter to Immunocal as a finished product. That's really important. He didn't write about glutathione. He wrote about Immunocal. So he studied with it, and his findings can be read about in this chapter. And he didn't have anything to do with immunotech. That's really important as well. So there are almost 50 years of scientific research backing Immunocal right now. A lot more than most of the drugs you can buy anywhere. And it's also included in medical reference books, both of the USA and Canada, the PDR and CPS, for over 20 years now. And there are more than 80 patents on Immunocal as well. So it's really mind-blowing, a really large amount. So the last one, as it says here, was for autism. There are on cancer as well. You can read them. They are published, and you can read them. And also, if you find this interesting, you can look everything up on PubMed. So this is like the reference, the library reference for all doctors. They go to PubMed. Well, if you want to, you can look it up right there. Okay, and this is the last slide about Immunocal. We also have a lot of, how to say this, stamps? That's not a word, but I hope you can understand. So certificate, yes, that's the one. So we have a lot of certificates that say that this is a very good product, that it's healthy and safe. So we have the grass, which is generally recognized as safe. And we have this one without any exceptions. Usually they say, well, most of the people can take it, but not these or those. In this case, everyone can take it. There's only one type of people that cannot take Immunocal, and that is someone who is allergic, not intolerant, but allergic to this specific milk protein. If not, if you're intolerant, there's no problem. And if you are allergic, like you have to go to the hospital because, you have a really severe reaction, then you shouldn't take it. All of the other people in the world can take it. Okay, so another one I really like to talk about is clean label, because it certifies that what we eat, what we take, is 100% clean. So most of the people are familiar with eco or bio certificates, but they only really state that the first material is clean, but not what you put into your mouth, right? So clean label says, okay, what you put into your mouth is free from pesticide toxicity, genetically modified organisms, etc. So it's really, really strict. So if they find just one case of Immunocal not being 100% clean, they take away the certificate.